Good morning. Welcome to my channel. I am the Clueless Luthier. And this is about making tools. In one of my last videos, I talked about how I was going to move away from kits, or at least like StuMat kits, that some of the work's done for you, and more towards doing it all myself. Now, there are things I can't do. I'm not going to be cutting tops out of a block of wood or things like that. I'm not going to have that kind of tools. But I am going to be doing a lot more of building my own necks from scratch. And this video is actually about the fact I'm going to be bending my own sides. So the first thing I'm working on is building a bending machine. So I started out, I purchased a heating blanket, silicone heating blanket from Kinovo. And it's got a built-in rheostat for warming the sides, and for that matter, binding. So I want to start doing wood binding. And then a couple of stainless steel slats to sandwich the sides in. And so when I decided to start designing the machine, I looked at a couple different designs. One is the Fox, Charles Fox, I believe, designed it. And then another one is a dually. I was really intrigued, but I realized that the slats I have really aren't long enough to do that, I don't think. So I'm going to do a kind of a blend of the ideas. So the first thing I did is, actually let me change the angle of the camera to work better. So I used a couple things. This came with my OM kit. I cut it in half. I'm using it as a spacer and set it in this form that's used, that I used to put the guitar together the first time, the second guitar. Then I took some MDF, and this is just kind of help hold it in the middle. I cut a template. Now, I might have to do a little bit more removal, but I'll do that as all one piece. So I used this to build this. Basically, I made 4 copies of it, and I did that by rough cutting it. Then I have a small router that I bought from an estate sale. Got a flush cut bit and used that to cut these to match the template. The template I'm not doing anything with. That's going to stay. In case I do more sides, I want to do a cutaway, and so I want to be able to have the same starting point. So the idea, seeing how this will set here, is that, you may have seen this before, that the side will be wrapped in foil, for one thing. It'll be sprayed, depending on the kind of wood, how wet you get it. Then the heating blanket goes on top, and then this is sandwiched together. I have little clips to kind of hold it in place while I'm getting it done. The next key is that I'm going to build a frame for this that I can then, another piece I'm going to use this to basically push this down into shape. Now, I'll have to cut a piece of wood to match this curve to be able to do that effectively, and then you bring the sides down. That's an overview. So the reason I did this, I've seen a lot of different designs. Some of you just have the outside with posts going across. I'd heard that can make it not as smooth. Another one is to build it totally solid. I liked the idea of being able to let it cool off a little more effectively than that. So this is what I came up with. And this is not only screwed, but also glued together using the Titebond Professional, is it? I don't have it here. It's the one that can be used for marine, because this is going to have a lot of humidity. I didn't want to use the original Titebond. So, okay, I built the stand, the base. It's not much yet. Well, all I did was take two 2x6s and some plywood I had, and did that. Let me show you how this fits together. Now, one thing I did, I made this length the same as the inside dimension here. The reason for that, and I'm not positive this is how I'll do it, is when this fits in the mold, I don't want it being able to slide. So one idea I had was to have some kind of bracket or brace that I could put here on either end to keep it stable. I also thought about using a pin. I don't know yet. Then this dimension, this here gives me enough width that my the metal, the stainless steel slat, thank you, and my blanket, heating blanket, will fit in there with extra room. Here's the other thing I've done so far, is went ahead and I made this. Is that right? No, it's backwards. Okay. So the way this is going to work is this will start out that I'll have a bracket here to here. I've kind of lined out where I think that's going to be. And once I start heating the blanket, the press will be on top of this, and I will slowly be able to press this down so that to get the waist set. Then after that, I will bring these down around the upper and lower bouts. That will be done, I'm pretty sure I've decided. I like the spring idea, where you will have a spring about here, out, that will just follow this contour. So we'll kind of pull it down as it heats and then hold it in place. So the next step is to build the arms and the mechanism that's going to be used to press this down. And I'm still designing that. Hi, it's been a bit since I did my last video. Being that this was such a design and process, I've moved back and forth and done different things, and so I just decided to wait till I was done and review the decisions I made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to partially dismantle this for you so I can show you a little bit better, but it is, except for one small detail probably, ready. So let's do that. Right, so my mold fits in between those two brackets, and they slide in the groove between these. And the reason for that is I didn't want them sticking out here, because then it could have messed with the mold, the wood coming down. This is adjustable. The reason I wanted to do that is if I do a different guitar, dreadnought, triple out, whatever, the location of this coming down could change. So this just gives me the ability to make some adjustment here. I also I have these marked for lower and upper bouts. This will go attach here. Well, first, I'm jumping the gun here. Here are my two slats. And in real life, I would have a mark where the center lines up. And when I center, I mean of the waist down here. So let's assume we're close enough, and I would then turn on the heat blanket. The wood, whatever I'm bending, whether it's sides, binding, whatever, would be wrapped probably in parchment and then also in tin foil, sprayed with water, depending on the kind of wood, how much, to create steam. And once I'll have a couple of thermometers I can watch, actually probably 3. I'm going to have 2 at the waist, I think, and 1 I can just kind of test where I need to test. Okay, my GoPro keeps turning off and rudely interrupting me, so hopefully it'll stop. As the temperature, this gets up to temperature, what I'll then be doing is crank this down until it pushes it into the waist completely. There we go. So then I have to make sure that the sides are warm enough. And as they are, that's where this comes into play. This is for the lower bout. This is for the upper bout. This is a lot more tense. Getting the right size springs has been the biggest challenge. In fact, here's some of the springs and hardware that, I tried and didn't work. So, then as these get up to temperature, we use this to pull it down. And that's what these blocks are for, is to stop that at the right spot. Then we do the same thing, pull this down, and most people I've seen leave it the heat on for like 2 to 3 minutes or so, turn it off, and just walk away for at least a couple hours, or maybe the evening. I've also seen some people, and I might try this, that bring it up to temperature one more time, turn it off, and let it set again, just to make sure that it's really formed as well as possible. Now, one thing I'm going to add, and it's going to be hard to show, is you have to be careful taking this apart. And the reason is, this, as you're pulling this up, these want to spring back up. Now, this is stainless, and it's not as bad as spring steel. But what I'm going to do, and that's what I bought these springs for, but they're too wimpy, is I put a hole in the bottom one, and I want to put a screw down here, and then to hold the bottom one in place so it doesn't push up against the wood I just bent as I do this, and the same on the other side. So, but that I'm going to have to do some research. I think the length is right. I just need a stiffer spring. And do the same thing here. Actually, I think I'm just going to take that right off. That. And this off. Then you would just crank this back up. Nice squeaky sound. And then pull it out, and it won't be flat. So that is my bending machine. It's gone through a few different renditions. So the next thing I think I'm going to build is a neck, what do you call it, neck joint jig, because getting the neck joint
just right, the right angle. It can be really tricky. And but yeah, I think that's going to be the next tool I do to get ready for more scratch build. Well, thanks for stopping by for this rather disjointed video. Over a few weeks, I kind of lost track. But I do appreciate you coming by, and if you've stuck through, I appreciate you even more. So I will hopefully see you soon. Bye.